What all went into that? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, well, I think when you come to a university like Notre Dame, as it was my dream school to come to, it's hard to turn down an extra year. And so when I got proposed the opportunity, I was looking into, okay, what academics can I do? Can I pursue another degree? And so I decided, looking at the crown jewel of the master's, you have the business school, and I was like, all right, the one-year MBA, let's see if I can do that. Lined up well. So I took that into consideration. I took into consideration, obviously, what happened last season and where we ended up, and I was like, all right, we have a lot of guys coming back. Kind of that taste in your mouth. You're like, I want to win a national championship. I think we can do it here. I think we can bring back the powerhouse of Notre Dame baseball, and I think it can happen in this next year or two. And so that was another consideration. I think you can't forget that my little brother goes here. He's one of my best friends. We do almost everything together outside of training and our own bonus training. So I think it was kind of like the three-headed snake right there, where you have academics, athletics, and then a little bit of social with my brother. So kind of all three of those brought me back.
Okay,
so
you mentioned.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that bonus training you do with your brother. What does that entail?
Yeah, so a lot of it is shooting a tennis ball machine. So it's a lot of hand-eye and reaction stuff. And so that's basically what I credit to a lot of ground balls coming back to me, and they'll have those reflexes basically from that. So if you hear during the season, the guys will yell tennis ball machine or tennis ball whenever I get a comebacker. So a lot of it's that. It could be extra yoga, it could be sauna sessions as well. Just kind of extra added recovery stuff, and then a little bit fine tuning here and there.
So you talked about the success of last year and the chance of that being a repeated thing and going further this year. What do you think it is about this team that makes that a possibility?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think a lot of people get caught up in projections, they get caught up in rankings, and I think something special about this team is that we're focused on one game at a time. And so not only is it just one game at a time, but you break that game down into innings, and you break each inning down into each pitch. And so it's how can we battle for that pitch? How can we get that starting pitcher of the opposing team to start using more pitches? Can we battle a 3-2? Can we get deeper into counts to reach into that bullpen on Friday night to cause a little more chaos? And then on the converse side, we're trying to attack hitters, to go like that. And we're not focused on roles or anything like that. Everyone is fine taking the ball, because they know as soon as they take the ball that they're the man for the job, and that's what they're going to go do. And they're going to go attack the hitter, and we're just going to go out there and attack every team with our game plan and just focus on one game at a time. So I think that's kind of the special recipe, is being able to have a focus and a control on what you're looking at for that weekend and that game in particular, and then a little microscopic that pitch, one at a time.
How difficult was it to, after the loss at the Super Regional at Starkville, and then to have to come back, back to earth, and then see them go out and win a World Series? Yeah,
I think it's very difficult, right? You try to put a good spin on it. Yeah, we lost to the national champs, but at the same time, you want to be the national champs. So yeah, it's a sour taste, but I think everyone kind of uses it as motivation, right? Hey, we competed with those guys, we beat ourselves, and we just use that to come in next year, and hey, we need to focus on each pitch better, focus on winning each inning, each third of the game, and then each game will take care of itself after that.
There are a couple of exceptions, but does this feel like last year's team?
I guess now going into my 6th year, every team is a little bit different. So I think there's a lot of core guys that are coming back, but in terms of pitching depth, I think we have a lot more pitching depth. I think we have a lot more variables throughout the entire team. So you have you're missing a few key pieces from last year's returners, whether it's a Nico or Tanner, but at the same time you have an insurgence of new guys, new arms, new hitters. So I wouldn't say it's the same. I'd say it's pretty different, but we kind of take whatever we have and we use that to our advantage. So this year's team is going to be a little bit different than last year's team.
What specific thing or things can you guys do to get to the next level?
Yeah, I think in terms of gameplay, it's going to be looking at putting more pressure on opposing pitchers, whether it's stealing bases, playing a little bit of small ball, or stringing together at bats. We're probably not going to prioritize the long ball. It's going to be there, obviously, but I think we're going to look at stringing at-bats together. I think the offensive guys will have a better idea for that. Yeah. In terms of the pitchers, I think we're just going out there and executing pitches. I think that's kind of it.
Any good young players that have come to your attention that you think we might need to know about?
Yeah, all of them. I think any single guy we have on the team is someone who has a lot of potential. I think that actualization of potential comes in and just a lot of confidence, and so it's whoever has the most confidence to come out there and compete. It's the same thing that I've been doing all day. or all the time. But I think the two that come to mind the most, at least from the pitching staff, would be like Roman and Raddick. And so I'd be paying attention to those guys as they're going to be big contributors. It'll be fun.
You individually, what do you want to improve upon?
Yeah, I think you're always looking at improvement. Like, you can't be complacent. So the biggest thing for my improvement from last year to this year is my biggest emphasis was throwing a changeup, a plus changeup that I could command for not only for a strike but also as a strikeout pitch.
So you talked about depth of the pitching staff.
Yes.
How nice is that to have the extra guys in here, and for those younger guys to see all of you as leaders and to know what the standard is for Notre Dame baseball?
Yeah, I think it just makes everyone's job maybe a little easier, right? You have a lot of experience coming back. You have a lot of guys like, hey, this is what we did last year, and this is what worked really well, and then this is what we think we need to improve on, and this is how we improve on it. So it just kind of makes things easier maybe for the coaches, and we're kind of like the players are a little bit, have an easier time coaching each other, saying, hey, like, this is what worked really well for me, this is what I think could help your game, and vice versa. So it's a lot of like teaching and then being taught, whether it's a freshman teaching me how they throw something or a little cue that they have to fix a pitch, or it's vice versa.
You mentioned a couple young pitchers who might be able to contribute. From your perspective on the mound, who's been hard to face that we haven't seen in the batter's box?
That you haven't seen?
Yeah.
I feel like you guys have seen most everyone. I think you have the usual guys of Jared Miller, Cole, and Putz. They're very difficult at bats. They just put good barrels on balls day after day. I think TJ Williams is a good guy to kind of keep your eye on, as well as DM Jefferson. Those guys have good at bats. They're tough, and that's what they do. Like, they just grind out at bats. And whether you have good stuff and you're executing pitches, like, sometimes the hitters just get to the best of you. So I'd say TJ and DM.
All right, the season starts in 10 days.
Yes.
You guys get to go to sunny Florida, warm up a little bit. What are you most looking forward to with your 6th season?
Emphasize the 6, right? Yeah, no, I think just being able to go out there and compete with those guys that you've been training hard with, right? I didn't have a chance to go home. I went straight from Starkville back to here, and I started classes as I was late to starting up my program. So I think being able to be with these guys and just compete, there's nothing else like that. And so that was another reason why I started coming back. Was like, all right, like, you can always get that competition with pro ball, but like here it's a little bit different in college. I think for these guys and for myself, it means more just competing out there with those guys. You know everything they've gone through, everything they've sacrificed, and so that helps bring that bond closer together.
And I know you talked about polls and preseason rankings, and everybody has you guys pretty high up there. What do you want people to see in this team in this first weekend that maybe they haven't evaluated yet and they haven't seen yet from this program?
Yeah, you can't really evaluate, preseason polls because no one's played anything, right? So everything can be shaken up in week 1. So I think what the emphasis that we want is just saying, hey, these guys go out, they play hard, they're gritty, and that they go after every single pitch and they take it seriously for all 27 innings, and that's it. They go and compete. And that's all you have to do. You got to scrap and you got to compete for every single pitch.
What was it like watching your brother lead the team in tackles, start every game? What was it like kind of watching him be that guy?
Blossom. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I think I can't be more proud, right? As it's my best friend, my little brother, obviously, but he's wonderful and he deserves everything that he got. And there's going to be a lot more to come next year, which is going to be exciting. So I think it was just a little bit of a taste of what JD Bertrand can bring to the table, as I'm hyping him up, obviously. But it's a special feeling, right? Like, you're competing at the same school, like you guys are both going against like top competition. You're ranked teams together, and it's fun. It's very encouraging to see, and it's awesome to see.
In a way, did it kind of make you more determined for this last year?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're always like, we have friendly competition, so we're always trying to see like, okay, like, how can we do better than each other, like in a friendly way. We don't take anything, to heart like that where we have grudges, but yeah, definitely motivated me to do better. Like, okay, it's my last like college season, like, how can I perform to my absolute best, and in what ways can I motivate JD to do his best, and vice versa, like, how can he help me and identify my weaknesses and stuff like that.
Time for one more. What's it like being teammates with Lazzaro again?
It's fun. Matt Lazzaro is a good guy. We share a lot of interests outside of the field, whether it's like Star Wars and like Marvel movies. So it's nice to be teammates with him again. And I think it's nice to relive a little bit of like some younger college memories that none of these guys would know. And it's nice to see Harker, like talking about Harker at Limestone, and see him there. So it's fun, and it's always good to have like another lefty. Like, he's a really, really good changeup. So like asking him, hey, like what are your cues for your changeup? How are you throwing that? How do you settle back in after giving up a hard hit on that? And just talking game plan like that. And I think he's seen the most of my development since I got cut as a freshman to now. Like he's been that one guy who's actually been there for 5 of those 6 years. So it's cool to be able to see him like, hey, like you remember this? Like, hey, what was that cue that we remembered, with Rob Hughes that we were throwing our changeups with? Like, well, how did we position that? So it's nice to have him. And I think he's going to be another added tool to the staff as well.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.